Hello, welcome to Jiangxi Province. This is Bayi Square in Nanchang, Jiangxi Province, central China. Jiangxi is a place famous for its revolutionary background. It is also the birthplace of many revolutionary songs. And you're actually watching a special program devoted to the 2011 Zhongguo Honggehui. Literally, it means the Chinese rap song singing competition. Basically, in a contest, the contestants would have to sing traditional and classic Chinese music, many of which are revolutionary songs. The event is a nationwide one, started back in 2006 by Jiangxi TV. And over the years, it has grown in its social influence and popularity. And that's one of the highlights for this year. Not only do you see people from Beijing, Shanghai, and many other places taking part in a contest, you also see some foreigners being a part in a competition. So in our program, we're going to be talking to some of the foreigners in a contest. My very first guest for the show is actually Iain Inglis, who is from Britain. He was a contestant from last year, and he ended up in a 5th place in last year's competition. Hi, Iain Inglis. Welcome back to Jiangxi Province again.
Thank you.
So first of all, could you please greet our Youku viewers briefly in Chinese?
In Chinese, 哇，给我这么大的压力啊！大家好，我是去年中国红歌会的五强选手，我叫伊恩。
Your Chinese is very impressive. How long have you been learning Chinese, and where did you learn it?
So I came to China in September 2004, and since that time I have been learning Chinese on a day-to-day basis. I enjoy it very much.
But you speak 5 or 6 languages?
Well, I don't speak them as well as I used to. I have learned several languages before, including French, German, Russian, Czech, and a little bit of Dutch or Japanese.
How would you rate the proficiency of each language? Can I say that your Chinese is the best foreign language that you can speak at the moment?
I would say probably my Chinese is the best of the few languages that I speak, simply because I have to practice it every day, meeting more and more Chinese people.
You talked to me a moment ago that your area of expertise is actually linguistics.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's a big shift from linguistics to entertainment industry.
Yes, they're perhaps not related, at least you might not think so. I have always enjoyed entertaining though, since I was at primary school. I was a member of the drama group there, and up through my comprehensive school. Then after university I decided to join some amateur drama groups, so I've always been interested in entertaining. I don't think it's necessarily dissimilar from languages. Languages you need to communicate. But languages are a form of communication, and when entertaining people you need to communicate with them, so I think they are related in some way.
Let's talk about your last year's experience in Zhongguo Honggehui. You ended up being the 5th place in last year's competition. What motivated you to be a part, and have you ever expected that you could go that far?
Well, firstly, to answer your last question, no, I never expected I would become the 5th best singer of red songs in China. Why did I attend? Well, I attended, if I'm honest, I attended accidentally. A friend of mine, I had never heard of Zhongguo Honggehui before, and a friend of mine told me about it, and I then went and applied. Registered, and I was accepted. Why I like Hongke is probably because, well, I've been living in China for 7 years now, and I see that China is a different society to ours at home, and because it's very different, it interests me a lot and appeals to me. And my wife is Chinese, and now half of my family is Chinese, so I have a real interest in China, and because of that I began to learn about the history and the situation in China, and through that I became interested in red songs.
Share with us, viewers, how did you meet your wife-to-be, if you will?
Well, actually she's already my wife. We got married in January 2008, but for various reasons we've never had the time or money to have a wedding, so we're eventually going to have a wedding this August. We met on an aeroplane flying from Shanghai to Beihai-dao, Jiahua. When was it? God, that should kill me. When was the date? Oh, the 14th of September 2003. And we stayed together for a year in Japan. And I decided to come with her to China when she left Japan in August 2004. So then I came, I think it would be on the 1st of September 2004, I came to China to be with her. And we got married in January 2008.
So congratulations.
No, thank you very much.
But people take your being in fifth place very differently. Like some people, they applauded your amusing performances, while others, they doubted your singing ability. What's your response?
Well, I would agree with both people. I doubt my singing ability. I am, in fact, probably among the world's most terrible singers. But that notwithstanding, I still enjoy singing, and I do like to entertain, and I'm glad that some people found and still find my performances amusing. I have no other intention other than to make people happy if I can, and if I can, then that's great. Sorry that some people don't like my singing, but I understand, because I don't like my singing either.
Okay. In the West, the color of red does not have the same connotation as that in China.
Yep.
It is oftentimes associated with communist regime, and it's quite derogatory. How do you, as a Westerner, interpret 红色文化 or the red culture?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Yes, the color red does have other meanings as well. Like it can be one of anger, or often describing anger in Western culture. Sorry. So yes, it does have some negative connotations. However, if you take the time to come to China, and if you take the time to learn a bit more about the red culture, you'll find that it's not some aggressive, belligerent, hangover relic from the Cold War. In fact, red culture is quite broad now. It's not only about the Communist International, but it's about many aspects of Chinese culture, including some, an element of patriotism there, history, culture, politics. It's all there, and it's very interesting. It's a very, very wide and diverse area of culture.
You know it, we know it. Chinese image is often distorted in the West, and we Chinese, probably we know Western cultures 10 times more than you know about the Chinese culture. But you, along with Dashan and many other celebrities, contribute a lot to the promotion of Chinese culture. As a British, what message do you want to bring back to Britain?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for comparing me to Dashan. I don't think I deserve that comparison, but I appreciate it all the same. I think what we can bring back is a message of, that China is a modern, forward-looking country. It does have a red past, let's say, and a red present, and hopefully a red future as well. But it's not the way that many in the West think it is. They still think, there are armies of Red Guards marching down the street waving Mao's book, and a very backward country, etc., etc. But obviously that's not the reality. The reality I'd like to portray is that it is a modern, developing industrial nation with a great potential for further development, but also is very, very welcoming to the rest of the world. I mean, I've had no problems here being a foreigner. In fact, I sometimes think being a foreigner has facilitated my development here, which is another issue, perhaps not fair, but what I mean is that China, Red China, has been very kind to me, and so I'm very happy here, and I thank China for that.
Okay, the red songs are very much sealed into the collective memories of our grandparents, our parents.
Yep.
Do you think that it's still relevant today?
Yeah, well, I think songs represent thoughts or feelings, perhaps collective feelings, of a certain time, of a certain generation. It could be just a moment in time. Well, so these red songs, especially the ones I like to sing, the sort of old revolutionary ones, whereas perhaps this generation might not feel the same about them. For example, your grandfather might become emotional for example, if he listens to the songs, maybe you will think they're a bit funny, a bit old, a bit strange, but you will still know what they mean, and you will know what they represent. And so I think they're a very effective way of sort of passing the culture, passing the history down the generations to allow future generations to remember. I'm not saying you will cry when you hear these songs, or you will not have this very, very strong emotional attachment to them, but in any case, you'll know what they're on about, basically, and you'll be able to feel that through the song.
Okay, then let's talk about your multiple identities. You are a singer, you're an entertainer, you used to be a hotel manager.
Yes.
You're now a master of Chinese language.
Well, yeah.
And you're a Chinese son-in-law. Which one is your favorite?
Oh, good Lord. Well, I think, except for the hotel manager, the other ones I am very privileged to be the speaker of Chinese. That's a real treat. To be a Chinese son-in-law is also an honour, and to be not just an entertainer, not just an entertainer of Chinese, but also a publiciser of red songs is also a great honour. Currently in China, I don't believe there are many. There are some, but there aren't so many foreigners who sing red songs.
There's a popular analogy. People refer to those overseas Chinese as yellow on the outside and white on the inside. How do you see yourself culturally? Do you see yourself the other way around?
Well, it's an interesting question. Of course, I was not born in China and did not grow up in this sort of cultural milieu. So I would not consider myself Chinese. Of course, I'm still British by citizenship. I think one interesting thing, though, is that although I believed myself to be totally British, even though I've been living in China for a long time and have Chinese family, however, when I go back home myself to the UK, I do find there are certain things that I can't quite get used to, certain perhaps habits or customs that people have there. So I now feel that I'm somewhere caught between the two cultures. Maybe not caught, that's not a good analogy. Perhaps I'm just I've absorbed elements of both the cultures. I've both brought some of my British elements here to China, but also I brought some Chinese elements back to the UK, and I seem to be now a mix of the two, I think.
Let me sum it up for you.
Please.
You've lived in Moscow, you've lived in Japan, so that means you're a multicultural person, right?
It could be that. I think also我的适应力挺强的. I mean, I get used to environments very quickly without too much trouble, so that's quite a benefit that I have.
Having been living in China for 6 years or 7?
Yeah, nearly 7
years.
About that, yeah.
How do you see yourself 5 years or 10 years from now?
Oh, well, that's a very interesting question. I have to be honest, I do usually tend to go with the flow and don't think too much about the future. Actually, my first honge that I sang on television in China was in October 2004. After having been in China just 1 month, I learned how to sing 社会主义好. And when I think about it, if my honge career had started then, maybe I would be at Dashan right now. Yeah. But so you never know what will happen. As it happened, unfortunately, nothing happened after that television show. So therefore, no other opportunities were presented to me. So you never know what will happen tomorrow or next week or next month. There might be lots of opportunities. Then again, maybe people will just get fed up with hearing, this strange foreigner, singing old songs. So we'll see. I'd like to continue along this road, and if possible, ideally for me, I'd like to do more acting. But we'll see. Thanks for your support.
So you've got a very busy coming up schedule.
Yeah.
You're going to own CCTV very soon for a...
Well, apparently, yes. It's just still telephone contact, no contract, sadly.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I have been invited to attend CCTV. 欢乐英雄 with a famous Chinese singer, and I've also been invited on 湖南卫视 but again, that has not been confirmed. It's we'll see. I was on CCTV last month, the beginning of this month, sorry. So, that's progress, I think. I hope it will continue, and thanks for your support.
Okay, hope your stay in China is a good one.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. 大家好，我是伊恩，请大家关注2011年中国红歌会，加油！